What's going on, everybody? G Squared Tactical, Gene and Trey back with you today. Today we're going to be reviewing a really interesting sight pusher that was sent to us by Accucraft. There's a lot of neat features about this sight pusher that kind of pushes it over the edge when it comes to competition. Everybody that knows about pushing out sights or changing out your sights on your semi-automatic pistols knows that it can be a little bit daunting of a task at times. So this particular sight pusher, again, we got from Accucraft. And guys, if you are interested in this product, either now or at the end of the video, you can click the link in our description, type in G Squared 10 at checkout and get 10% off your order, which is really awesome, and we're really thankful for that. But with that being said, I kind of want to talk a little bit before we start getting into the how-to of this particular sight. We're actually going to take some sights off in today's video. I want to talk about some of the materials that make up this Accucraft sight pusher. So it is 100% aluminum. It is 7071 aircraft aluminum in the body and the housing of the sight pusher. In the knobs, it is 6065 aluminum. So all the way through, very durable aluminum. And when it comes to the bolts, everything is grade 8. Now, a lot of people wonder, like, well, who cares if it's grade 8? The good thing about that is that when it comes to these sight pushers, you were putting a lot of tension, a lot of pressure in a certain area. And when you do that, when you're involving threads, you have the option slash the ability to pull these threads out. That's not a good thing, because once you do that, then you essentially strip that bolt. You can strip the nuts. Everything about it can be wasted, if you will. It does have an adjustment wheel, 2 turn knobs that go on top, and we're going to show you how to assemble it, because when we received it, it came disassembled. Comes with 4 side knobs. Once everything is assembled, it has been so well manufactured and machined that you have plus or minus 1 micron rating of movement, which I know that, like, when I first started looking at this, I was like, what the heck is a micron? Most of you probably don't care about any of that, but when it comes to pushing that sight out, you're really going to want that really close rated metal slash cuts that has been provided. So with that being said, we're going to kind of...
Trey said we're going to push a sight out today. We're not going to push a sight out today. I have already pushed a sight out.
Ah, yes.
But what we are going to do is show you, well, like he said, how to put it together, because I didn't receive this. Trey received it. I guess it came together. Parts of it was together, and I don't know what was together on it. I do know that these springs were not in place when he gave it to me. He said they were in this little baggie here. So what I did was I pushed the sight completely off and reinstalled a sight on a Stoeger STR9 that had been sent to us by Stoeger. I went through the complete process because Trey wanted me to do that, because he knows that I have pushed quite a few sights off with my Real Avid sight pusher here, and I've really always liked this sight pusher, but there's some things about it that I didn't like that Accucraft has kind of addressed, in my opinion. Now, so what we do to put this together, you got your piece back here where your actual pusher is mounted to, so you want to put it to the rear. Now, like I said, what I did is these 2 springs came in this packaging, and I put these down, and what that allows you to do is when you push this thing down, it will spring back up, so you don't have to manually lift it up to get it off of your slide. But anyway, I did push out the sights on a Stoeger, the rear sight, front sight, put it back on. So what we're going to do today, so that this video is not 3 hours long, is we're going to show you how to assemble it. We're going to show you how to set it up to prepare for the operation of pushing the sight off, and some things about it. And then we'll just insert the still shots of me actually having pushed the sight off, because it took a little bit of time, obviously. We did the leg work for you, if you will, of how to do it a lot quicker, because it was new to us. And I don't follow written instructions very well, because I'm gonna be honest.
No one likes to read these days.
So
me as well.
Like I said, the 2 springs came in this bag. I did insert the 2 springs over these bolts here, and then of course, as I mentioned, the piece where your actual pusher will go towards the rear. Just set this down on here. You got your 2 washers here that go over top of that. And then of course you just put your 2 nuts on here. Easy peasy, no problem. You have this, and what I did determine is if you have sights, the ones that I think of are the plastic Glock sights that are heavily angled on the sides, then you want to use this side, the angled side, if you will, versus the flat side. Now, what I pushed the Stoeger sights out with was the flat side, okay? Because I have on the Stoeger STR9, this is not the one I pushed off, but it's very, very similar. And you have this raised flat side here that you can really get a hold of, and so it works well with the flat side of the pusher here versus the angled side, because what happens there is it wants to slide up the sight as you're pushing it out. But it works very well with a Glock sight. So you got on there how to put it together, and let's put your actual pusher on here. So obviously you have your beveled out area here that's going to face the, and you're going to put your 2 screws in here, and your provided Allen key here to kind of snug them up.
And you guys can probably see some of the scratches and different, you know, faults in the finish. You might want to put a little bit of what is it, like a piece of cloth or something?
Yeah, it came,
so you don't scratch.
So it came with these bumper pads. I don't know if you're familiar with like pads you might put on the back side of a cabinet door or something so it bumps when it hits, or a drawer or something. It came with those. Now I kind of got a mixed feelings about that, because I am very particular about my slide finishes. I do not want them to get butted up at all. Now, with that being said, when I put those on here, it seemed like, well, it's just in the center. Unfortunately, I don't have a still shot of those bumper pads. If I can find one, I'll put it up. But as I begun to use this, I noticed, I don't know if you can pick up on the camera or not, but you see how those pads flattened out on there. So at one time they stuck off a great deal, and as I used it, they really flattened out. So it really did cover that surface. Now what I would do is I'd probably get me a few more bumper pads just to have on standby, because one thing that I do like about this one over this one, now I'm not going to say that I don't like my Real Avid sight pusher, because I do, but the thing that I hated the most about it, as you can see easily, see how it's warped? These pieces are plastic to protect your finish, and it's warped them up. It comes with 2 extra ones when you buy it, but after you use those 2, good luck finding any more online, because you absolutely can't. This, as Trey said, is metal, aluminum, and so you do have that ability to scratch up your slide if that were to happen. And so you have those little bumper pads. So another neat thing on here is a problem I always had with this one was getting my slide lined up inside of there and it not being tilted one way or the other. You have these vertical lines in the bottom here that picks up very, very easily there, as you can see. And so when you put your slide in here, you slide it in from the front, or I did. You can see on here, you can basically line your slide up with those vertical lines and be sure that you have it in there straight. That's important, and you want to be able to keep it that way as you are torquing your sight out. Okay, so as you can see here from the back side, you basically, what I did, now I don't know if this is the instructions on it, but basically what I did is I pushed this down, okay, until I knew it was down at the right heights to where when I went over, it wasn't going to scratch the top of my slide. Okay, once I got it to that height, I just kind of held it there, right, and I tightened up my nuts just until it stopped. I didn't go any further beyond that, just until it stopped. When it stops, as you can see, it will not come back up. So it's set at that point. No matter what happens with the slide here, you have your height adjustment set correctly. The way that is set there, I don't know if this will pick up for camera, but as you can see, as that goes across there, that's not going to touch the top of my slide. So it's going to push that off of there without touching the top of my slide. So at that point, I have my height adjustment correct. Now the only thing that I need to do is make sure that I have front to back correct, and that's just easily done with the eyeball. There is really no perfect or exact way to do that. You just kind of eyeball it, and then you start to screw in your pieces on the side here.
Well, you do have in the rear as well those the millimeter and inch readings. So like engraved on the side, you have 50 to 50, so you can kind of make sure you have it halfway, or
right,
obviously, you know, that would be later on in the process, but
yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm just a common sense kind of guy.
Well, mostly that just has to do, I guess, once you push it all the way across.
Right.
So I kind of got ahead of the horse there. The carriage did.
It kind of gives you an idea of when the sight actually falls out. When the sight comes off, it kind of give you an ending point, so you'll know where, I guess, to start when you put your slide back in there. But so what I do, or what I did was,
yeah, you're tightening those,
is I tightened it until it touched the slide. You can see it moved it a little bit, and I tightened this one until it touched the slide, and then I did the same thing in the back. I didn't torque them. I just enough to just touch the slide, right? Then I checked my vertical alignment here. So as you'll be able to see, or I can, maybe it won't pick up for camera, it's pushed to my left slightly. So what I did was, as you can see, the slide is moving, and I'm gonna have to release this one a little bit, let it push a little more, and now it's about straight with those vertical lines. So now I can kind of torque these down, which I have done. Now your rear should be nothing, just a piece of cake at that point. You just tighten them both down, torque them just hand tight, and then you can begin the process of pushing off your sight by moving this direction. And like I said, I do have this upside down here, so you make contact with your sight. And that's a good fit. That's a good fit right there. You got that lined up nicely.
So you've got the angled part of the sight pusher itself down on there, because this is more or less a Glock sight.
A Glock-ish.
A Glock-ish sight, yeah. Correct, yeah. So those that have the, and then you obviously have that option if you have a gun that has more of a straight up and down rear or front sight, whatever you're pushing off.
So here's my thing. Now Trey said, well, we don't want to bring the competition's sight pusher out here and show it off. You know, we want people to buy this one because they can use our discount code. That's true. But if I'm looking at videos and I already have a sight pusher, I want you to tell me why it is that I want this one versus this one. Now, some things that I do like about this one is that it does have the handle here for you to get a nice purchase on. It can be mounted to a table, and it does have the ratchet where you can put a socket wrench in here, and you can use a socket wrench rather than your hand, and it does have a lot bigger grip here. With all of that said, it is heavier. It's not as compact. You can't shove it down in your range bag if you want to make adjustments out at the range. It's going to take some doing to get this in some kind of a bag to carry it around. So, and you do have the plastic pieces here that I promise you, if you have to put any kind of torque at all on your sight, is going to bend them up, as you can already see. Okay, so this one is way more compact without this sight in, or slide in here, should I say. Let's go ahead and take, one thing I forgot to mention. So this plastic piece in the center that holds the top of the slide. Now, I was kind of unsure about whether or not the beveled out area would go across the slide, or you know, as in line with the slide, or I don't know if you can see how it's got this slot in the center there, this open cutout area in the center of that plastic piece.
Yeah.
But I would say that's probably more for like 1911s, because they have that curvature in them.
Good point.
Whereas this is a blocky slide. So what I did is the beveled out area through the center, I went side to side with that, so that the front and the back of that plastic piece there, which it is plastic, very good, it won't scratch or finish, so that that piece would be would make contact on the front and the back. Okay, so I would say, regardless of what maybe the instructions would say, if you have a blocky slide, you're going to want to make 2 points of contact. You don't want that beveled out piece over the slide. You want it to make contact at the front and the back. Again, hand tighten that, hand tighten these, hand tighten this. Nothing needs to be overdone. Then you just begin to crank it back towards you, so that would be lefty, lefty loosey, and then back to put it back on righty tighty. Again, we are going to put up still shots in this video, as you can see, so you'll be able to more easily follow what we are trying to say. Now let's take this thing back out of here. Very easy to do that. Nothing difficult at all. Again, it is aluminum, so it is a soft metal, so it's really not going to scratch up your finish. You push this all the way down, tighten your nut all the way down here for mobility, if you will. All right, once you figure it out, you're not going to need the instructions anyway. So this thing is now very compact. This can fit into about any backpack you taking with you to the range, anything like that. Is very lightweight. And so in that case, I think there's a place for this, probably at home, maybe on a bench rest or on a bench somewhere in your shop or something like that. But for mobility, for when you want to make those adjustments to the sight out at the range, but you don't want to take a punch and beat the crap out of your gun, this is perfect for that. It is so mobile, and you can just hold this and feel how well built this thing is. Now, we have pushed the sights off of 2 different guns. Both of those went very well. You know, in some ways, I guess probably the reason they didn't put the socket in the end of their turn wheel here is probably because they didn't want people like me just overly cranking it and breaking it. Certainly not something you want to do. I would say, as they mentioned in their instructions, if it gets to where you can't do it with your hand, you probably want to stop. You probably don't want to over crank on it, break your sight pusher. But I can't say enough good about this thing. Like, what is your thoughts, Trey? I mean, like,
I like it because, like you said, the compactness, the aluminum grade, and the grade 8 bolts.
It's very well built.
Seems very well built, and that is what I go for nowadays, because you can't really find anything worth having that'll last a long time, and that's where you're going to find it, is in the good quality products. Nothing on it is plastic.
Say the well builtness. Is that what you was going to say?
The well builtness, yeah, right.
New word.
That's a compound word.
New word on G Squared Tactical is well builtness.
Absolutely.
That's right. It is very well built. The Accucraft. I'm not sure if they make any other ones besides this one. I don't really know, to be honest. Maybe you guys can see. But make sure, what is it, GR8?
GR8.
What is the columns of GR8?
Our code G Squared 10.
G Squared 10 is G Squared 10. Make sure, if you want this, we can't recommend it enough. I really like it. I really believe you'll like it as well. Make sure you put in that discount code so you can get your 10% off of this awesome sight pusher. And I hope we did it justice. Again, we didn't want to go through the whole process of pushing off a sight, because this video would be 30 minutes, I promise you. But with the integration of the pictures that we have put up and giving you a little rundown, I hope we've done it justice. We really appreciate you guys watching. Again, use this discount code. Make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, tell your friends and family where they can find good blue collar reviews. Thank you.